Welcome to Season 2 of Heart of the Gulch. On this episode, we have Shauna McCoy, owner and operator of East Nashville's Donut Distillery. If you like the content that we provide, please subscribe and like this video. Let's get on to the episode. We are in the heart of the Gulch. My name is Tony Mendoza, your host, and today we have an amazing female entrepreneur. She left the corporate world and she decided to pursue her passion, which is a pretty dope passion, by the way, and then also created a food truck. This food truck got a amazing following, a quick following as well. And then they created the first shop in East Nashville, and that shop has to do with donuts and booze. We're talking with Shauna McCoy with the Donut Distillery in the building. What is going on?
Not much. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I've been messing up my intros all season, so I'm hoping I'm getting a little smoother with it. Okay?
That was nice. That was good.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Yes.
So let's, I like to start in the beginning.
Okay.
So in the beginning, I was reading on your profile that it was Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yep.
My goodness. The best sunsets in the world are in New Mexico.
Best sunsets and the best food.
Okay, we'll talk about it. So what really got you into just food and everything? Start from the beginning.
Food wise, I've always loved to cook. My mom's a great cook. My grandparents were all, very good. In New Mexico, which is something that's very just in New Mexico, is green chili. We put green chili on everything. That's where it's grown. And we put it on pizza, hamburgers, enchiladas, eggs. We put it on everything. You can go to McDonald's and get green chili on your hamburger. Pizza Hut has green chili for your pizza. It's amazing. Yeah, we put it on everything. And so, again, my mom cooked a lot, and it's just a fun place to be in the kitchen and listening and learning and talking and sharing. And that's just kind of a fun,
experience.
Yeah, experience through food has always been something fun that I love to do. And so that's kind of how it all started.
I've realized really quickly that everybody who has started either a restaurant, started a food truck, started just even being a personality. We had a food personality just not too long ago, Sherry. And what's amazing about it is that when we talk about starting a business like that, it always comes down to the family aspect of it. So someone in your family, some memory got you inspired to do it. Now, I'm just wondering here, was sweets a big part of your memory?
Yes. So it's really funny because I get all the cooking from my mom. She was a great cook and her family. But my dad was a sweet tooth. So that's where the sweet part came in, and actually where the donuts came into. Albuquerque is famous for the Balloon Fiesta. So the International Balloon Fiesta is there. It's the largest. It's a wonderful time of year. And, you go there. It's kind of like a fair atmosphere. And they have all the food vendors and all the great stuff. And the one thing that he absolutely loved to do was to go get the little mini donuts with the cinnamon sugar. And so, that was one thing besides going to see all the balloons and, get all the other great food there is. The little cinnamon donuts were kind of a treat that you couldn't get every day.
How big are we talking?
Like mini, like little ones.
Mini minis. Okay,
like little ones, and they'd be hot and fresh in a little bag with cinnamon sugar, and it's not something you could just get every day.
Sounds so good.
Yeah.
Well, it's also lunchtime for the people that are watching. They have no idea that's lunchtime. So
that was a special treat. Yes. That is one of those memories that you couldn't just go to the store and get. You couldn't go to a lot of places and get. So besides the experience, that was also an experience. So it's kind of comes from both sides there.
Do you feel like that today? So when you are creating, because so this is something I wrote down on the board right here. They don't know about the teleprompter. But one thing that I always associate to, because I've been to your spot a few times at this point. I learned about the Donut Distillery when you guys had the storefront. So I wasn't lucky enough to see it as a beautiful food truck.
Yeah.
Now, like every customer is different, you guys have a different type of donut.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes.
So it's so cool to hear the beginnings and just where the idea came from this, the area of the donuts. A little bit like me, I'm the sweet tooth. Yep. I can't cook, and my mom is a great cook, but she's even better at baking.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing like your dad must have been just every time he would go to these events, he would look for that donut?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So-
but I am a better cook. Unlike I can cook because I just like to throw this and throw that. I don't want to measure anything. But now we have to measure everything.
Well, I'm noticing you have a little bit of an accent.
Do I?
A little bit. I mean, a little. It sounds. How long have you lived in Nashville?
I've been here 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
So yeah, it probably has rubbed off a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
What about so after New Mexico?
Yes.
I'm guessing because you were a pretty successful saleswoman, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then from New Mexico, where did the road take you to?
Well, I went to college in Rhode Island. So yeah. Went all the way across the country. It was a great experience. Also, very cool place. Another place that most people don't know a lot about. It's a great little tiny state with beautiful, beautiful, beautiful oceans and also great food. Little different food, but
More
great.
seafood, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, great food, great people. And then I went back home and started working for the University of Phoenix. And I did that for a little over 20 years, and that's where the sales and the corporate experience came into play.
What kind of sales, if you don't mind me asking?
Corporate sales. So we would go to companies and help employees get enrolled in school and finish their degree or get their master's degree and stuff like that. And it was great. It was fun. I was able to travel all over the United States doing it. And then the entire for-profit education industry just kind of
changed up completely.
It just totally, completely changed. And then I found myself going, wow, I've been doing this for 20 something years, thought I was going to do it for the rest of my life. And now what am I going to do with my life?
Well, and then also, not only that, it's when I'm realizing talking to so many amazing, not only entrepreneurs, but business owners, is that they originally took a risk.
Yeah.
Anything that you do takes a risk, right? And now building a business from having something so stable, I mean, we were talking about before we even got on, right? Having something stable like a corporate job is just so, like, you're able to start a foundation.
Right.
Thanks. And not only from that, but what I'm learning is benefits too.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Oh man. So was it interesting, once you had that, when was that idea plan in your head? Like, okay, maybe it's time to start my business, my entrepreneurship.
It was something also, again, going back to family, that both my parents own their own businesses. So kind of already had that, someday I want to do that. But the someday I never thought was actually going to be just one of those someday things. And then I had a couple corporate jobs that I did not enjoy very much. It was just, and it got to the point where I was like, this isn't fun anymore. And I'm not loving life. I was, like you said, had a steady thing, had a paycheck, had benefits, but I was miserable.
Yes.
I was miserable.
It happens.
And there is just no price you can put on that sometimes.
No.
And we had batted around a whole bunch of ideas, and this idea stuck. This little mini donut thing stuck. We had thought about it before, couldn't really figure out how to get the funds to do a brick and mortar. Plus, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, I had no idea. Hadn't tried making donuts in my kitchen, and if anybody's ever tried that, it's not easy.
No, you have to have all the ingredients and everything, and the room.
And they're particular. They're kind of particular. Not like baking a cookie where it's going to come out tasting good no matter what it looks like. No. So we went through a few things, and finally one day I was like, hey, what if we got a truck? We have the funds for that, and we can do this little mini. Lots of reasons. We went through a lot of iterations of it, my husband and I, and finally came up with, I think minis are good because, if somebody brings in something big, a big cupcake or even a big donut or a big something, I can say no. The little ones have a harder time saying no to.
I love that. Now, you were saying that it's difficult, and I've never tried to make a donut, a homemade donut.
Yes.
So I can only imagine that you would need the space for a typical donut. So for the folks that are watching this that are not located in Nashville and Texas or wherever you're watching this right now, when you think about these donuts, particular donuts, I would even say I have really small Hispanic hands. So probably my palm is about the size of the donut, if not smaller.
Yeah, they're 2 inches by 2 inches, about 2.5 to 2 inches by.
And was that tough inside like a mobile storefront, which is a food truck?
No, because we only make cake donuts.
Okay.
And we have a little machine, and they call it a donut robot. And we did lots of research. They're not cheap. So if you think you're going to put one in your house, I wouldn't recommend it. But
sounds industrial too. And
yeah,
that doesn't
it's a little
match
baby
everyone's flow.
robot. It's not that big. It's like about 2 feet.
Have y'all named it?
Yeah, it's named Mark.
It's named.
It's a Mark II. It says right Mar on there, Mark II. So we name him Mark. Yes, we're not that creative.
Yo, but at least you named it, because I mean, if anyone has a robot and they don't name it, it makes it less human.
Gotta be. Yeah, it's got to be Mark. It's got to be. And then employees call, Mark's acting up, and we're like, all right.
God, it sounds like an employee. Hopefully no one sees that.
It is.
Okay, and then so inside. So talk to me about the first year inside the truck. I mean, how was that? And when was that?
It was 2017.
Okay. Oh, and your transition, actually. So, and did you start the truck the moment you moved to Nashville?
No. We lived in Nashville for about 3-4 years.
Okay.
And I had a couple jobs here, and that's when, you get that, for those of you who've ever had this feeling, on Sunday afternoon, about 4:00, you get that pit in your stomach because you got to go to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And you're like, so not looking forward to it. And my husband finally was like, look, you can't do this anymore. I don't care. We got to make a change. We got to figure something out because this isn't good for you. So got on Craigslist and found a truck and drove to Goodlettsville for this nice man, had this truck sitting there. And all of a sudden we're in there and we take the truck and loaded it up on the back of my husband's truck and drove it home and sat there and looked at it and went, oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
What are we going to do? What are we going to do now? I mean, it wasn't outfitted for what we needed, so we had to hire somebody to help us, renovate it a little bit and do a couple things to it.
Was it a good? Tell me about the foundation of this truck. Was it at least, everything was spick and span, and there was no issues or anything like that?
No. He had bought this truck to do barbecue, and then he was going to do it at Lowe's. So it's at Lowe's Blue. And then Lowe's, right as he was going to start, said, no, we're not going to do this. So he then just let it sit for about 8 years. So it had some rot here and rot there. And so, it needed some work, but it wasn't terrible. And we were able to.
This is giving me Chef's vibes right now. If y'all haven't seen that movie Chef, this is from the scene I'm thinking about, is when they're actually putting it all together with his son, right? Was it similar to that kind of process? Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're like, where are we going to put this? Oh, I don't know. Oh, and then you get it all together and you're like, oh, we forgot about,
something.
Yeah. So all of a sudden you have to, redo stuff. And so we redid things a few times, but we had the truck for about 2 years.
Okay.
It was, for anybody who's thinking about doing a food truck, I will just tell you right up front, they're hard. And the people that run those food trucks, they work their tails off. And it's physically, mentally, it's exhausting.
You're confined. I mean, it's not even that you're also confined.
Yeah.
There's similar to what we do here in the heart of the Gulch, right? Where you have to find not only locations.
Absolutely.
You have to communicate with those vendors.
Yep.
And that's, something a little bit about me a long time ago, and I haven't said this on air yet, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I used to work for a company, and this company, multi-million-dollar company, and I had to develop what they called a treasure truck. And the treasure truck, I learned what it was like to drive this multi-million-dollar vehicle, speak to vendors, hopefully to have us park in their location,
right,
for people to come. So is that one of the challenges you're talking about?
Absolutely. That is a huge challenge. And then one of the challenges we had is that we decided up front, because it was less expensive, to get a trailer. So we had to pull it. So I had to learn how to drive it. It was heavy. Had to learn how to pull it, back it in, do all that kind of stuff.
That's tough. The parallel parking in that is tough.
Yeah, it's and you have to have space. Just the whole thing came with that. And then you have to stock it. You have to have enough stocked, because you don't know how much are you going to sell, what are you going to do. So you're constantly stocking, and then you get home, you have to clean it, and then you have to restock it, and then we live in Tennessee, so it's either 120 degrees in there or 10 below, and there's no in between.
Yes.
And as I said, the donuts are a tad bit particular. One of the things they're particular about is the temperature of the oil. So, if you open the door and it's like it is today.
Like today, it's really cold outside today.
All of a sudden, the temperature drops, so now the donuts don't turn out well, or else you're in there and it's,
And consistency is a big thing when it comes to not only building and baking, right?
Huge.
It's consistency from a standpoint of your business, because when people, especially from a perspective of having a food truck, people are making that split decision. Not everyone knows this. Not everyone knows this brand,
Right.
And they have to make that decision the moment they eat it. So they take every time you go to a food truck, and you know what I'm talking about. And
Yep.
I'm gonna go back to my Texas roots here. When you see a taco truck, and you stand in front of the taco truck, you don't ever know the. It could be a left, it could be a right, it could be
Yep.
I'm gonna come back here all the time,
Yep.
or I'm gonna see the restroom for the next 5 days.
Absolutely.
And it's scary. So
Yeah.
when you talk about consistency, you got to talk about it from both sides.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And temperature of the batter, temperature of the oil, temperature of the water, all the things. Yeah. So the food truck was challenging.
Yes.
My husband will joke all the time about how we're still married after those 2 years because, you can't get consistent employees because you don't know when you're going to work, so, it's kind of like, hey, can you come today? No. And so it was a lot of, I have 3 kids and, they did a lot of work on the truck. Some of their probably worst memories of their life were on the truck when we are, have a line of people. And my 10-year-old is trying to tell people, I don't have hot coffee right now, even though it's snowing, because the generators, I can't figure out how to keep the generators on. Or, things like that.
Little things like that no one thinks about.
No.
Oh my goodness.
God. So yeah, or there's, you're not expecting, a line, and all of a sudden we're like, we can't make them fast enough, and
That's another thing.
It's a good problem, but yes, it can be very stressful trying to, or getting the truck level. So it's a lot of work. So to those people who do food trucks, you got to know they work hard.
Oh man, well, first of all, the family's still together, and you guys are now even growing even into multiple locations, even growing outside of hopefully of Nashville, Tennessee, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I'm thinking about when I only worked one food service job. And this is when I was probably around 16. So I wasn't sure. I'm not sure how old your kids were when they were working the truck. Yeah. But it was the worst thing in the world. It was at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. And I was the only person serving chili cheese hot dogs in the entire. And what's even grosser about it is that it was the only one in the park. And it was right after people got done swimming. There's something, and literally the hut was right next to that area. And there was just something gross about that. I'm serving you a chili cheese hot dog after you were done swimming. Right. And then you have the rest of the park to walk in. It just grossed me out. But anyways, what scared me about it was when you get those rushes. When you get a rush of people, and tell me if you can relate to this. One person looks at the sign, and then 2 others look at the sign. And then one person steps up to make the order. 6 others come to step and make the
At least everybody comes in droves, and it's that way today.
Or it's dead.
It's either we're dead, and then all of a sudden 30 people walk in, and you're like, what happened? Where'd they all come from? And then they all leave.
And then you got to get and people do not play when it comes to food. Let's see what bun I got here.
I'd sell my soul for a donut.
And I'm telling you, it is it's a scary thing, because if you're not ready, especially from a food truck's perspective, if you're not ready for that rush, and if people just for some reason get upset when it comes to food, I guess it makes sense, right? In a way. Yeah. Okay, so how long? Just randomly, because we have 2 stops in the whole show, so we're gonna get to that first stop in a minute, but. I just want to ask, how long did it take to get the food truck off the ground from when you bought it? What was the timeline there?
It probably took about a couple months.
Not too long.
No, not too long. I was still working.
I was
still working. So it was kind of like, trying to find somebody to help us, and we were trying to do the work a little bit ourselves.
Sounds like a lot of weekends.
Yeah, it was a lot of weekends, a lot of, and neither my husband and I are like the super handy, but at the same time we're like, oh, surely we can figure this out. So, some YouTube videos and things like that.
It's not that easy.
No, there's some a bit to it. So we found some good help, and we got it taken care of. And
I want to talk about East Nashville.
Yes.
East Nasty. I love East Nashville. You guys have a mural on the side of y'all's building of East Nashville. And I mean, let's start the easy question. Why East Nashville?
Well, honestly, we were just looking for a location, and we were looking everywhere. And that location just came up, and it was just the right time, the right place. And it's turned out to be perfect.
And not only that, so for the people that are watching, this location in East Nashville is at a perfect kind of turn. So when you're going down Gallatin Road, or is it Gallatin Pike? It's Gallatin Pike?
Kelton Avenue.
Gallatin Avenue. It's the main road, really, of East
called
Nashville.
Main.
Yeah, it's Main. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the lifeblood of East Nashville, really.
Right.
And right when you're turning, right by this beautiful building, what is this, school? It's the older school.
It's East Nashville High School.
Yep.
Oprah Winfrey went to school there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right when you make that turn, that's when you see the shop.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't ask for a location better than that.
Right.
So, I mean, when you saw this location, what was it before? Do you remember?
It was an old Miss Winter's chicken, but it sat empty for 8 to 10 years.
No way.
It was kind of an eyesore. And the great thing for those people who are not here in Nashville, and even for people who are, everything in the city, of course, everything is changing day to day. And East Nashville, 10 years ago when it sat, there was a lot of things that looked
like that.
Like they're run down. And now, it's so nice. And people are everywhere and they're just constantly improving, all the places and it's a really cool neighborhood. It's a lot different and it's just a cool vibe.
What does it remind you of? So when I think of East Nashville, because there's a big variance between, the Gulch where we're at versus the Nations where I live and East Nashville. And East Nashville, when I think about that area of Nashville, I think of, have you ever been to Austin?
No.
Okay, so
I've heard it's very similar to that, though.
Okay, well, you know what? Because I've been to Santa Fe.
Yes.
And in Santa Fe, there are pockets.
Yes.
That remind me. I can't remember the name of the neighborhood, but
I can't either. But
yes. There's pockets that look similar to East Nashville, where it's still fast paced because you're on a major road.
Right.
But there's something about the vibe of the area that totally switches when you cross the river.
It's really a cool place. The people are nice. We do have a lot of tourists, and we're close enough to the tourist area that our tourists will come. But the neighborhood itself, the people that live there, the people that work there, I love the diversity of it.
Yes.
And I love that you can walk down the street and it doesn't matter. And I love that it doesn't matter and nobody cares. That they are very accepting of all the diversity that goes on there, and it's
it's different, and
it's great.
Also, what's really cool about your location, plug in the address exactly.
It's 311 Gallatin Avenue.
Gotcha. Okay, and that's where you can find Donut Distillery, right on the turn, like I'm saying. And what's cool about that location is that there's so much being developed there from like a rental point of view.
Right.
So when you talk about these bachelorette parties, they are lit because not everyone can afford to stay at the W.
Right.
So they're usually bachelorette parties, so they need a little bit more room.
Right.
So it's really cool because across the street from your location are these brand new tall and skinnies. And in these tall and skinnies is a constant flow of bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, people visiting.
Yes.
So when they wake up in the morning, the first thing I know they're thinking is donuts.
Yes.
And not only that, they're thinking about drinking.
Right.
And they're also thinking about just not only donuts, are you open up late?
Yes.
That is the biggest thing that I love about this place is that you guys aren't, that's my biggest gripe about donut spots in general.
Yeah.
Is that they're open at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
and they're done before 10.
Yeah.
I get my sweet tooth after 5.
Right. And unfortunately, we are closed during the week at 3, and that's all because of COVID, and we just haven't figured out how to open. But our second location is open till at night.
Yes.
But on Saturdays we stay open till later.
That's when I got to enjoy.
We're trying to expand that to other days, but honestly, right now, just with a lot of other things going on, and trying to find people. If we had the staff for it, we would be open later.
Well, 3 o'clock is still kind of late especially for a donut when you're thinking of a donut, but it's not. It's more than that, and we're gonna get to that. So. Yeah. All right, so I want to talk about, I believe it was your husband that came up with the idea of having some type of alcohol with your donut.
So actually what happened was I was trying to sell him on the idea that we needed to open a brick and mortar. And we talked about I was in sales before, so that is who I was selling to. And he was kind of like, wasn't all the way in, depending on the day. He was like, yeah, we should do it. And then other days he was like, man, I don't know. That's just, that's hard. We're risking our life savings on this.
When you pay rent one day, I'm not going to go out and buy a burger.
Right. So he was worried about it. And so I finally was like, I know how I'm going to get him to do this. What if we sell beer? really was just trying to sell him. I didn't know anybody else was going to care if we had beer or not. I just wanted him because for those of you that are in partnerships, marriages, whatever it is, I knew the truck was hard on us because we didn't always agree on what we were doing. And he would be upset that, a Saturday was taken because we had to take the truck out. And
understandably, though.
We got 3 kids and he wanted to spend time with the kids. And yet here we are all schlepping out, to who knows where in this truck and hot and yelling at each other because
sometimes people don't come. Sometimes you're just sitting there talking.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So as soon as I told him, why don't we sell beer? He was like, oh,
yeah.
Good.
I'm going to need it. I need it.
Yeah, he was thinking, I get free beer all day. So was really that was how that started, and it just kind of evolved from there.
Well, I mean, it's not just beer.
No.
So this is one thing I cannot stress enough to you guys. So in this place, and I know I sound like a total fanboy because I am a fanboy because we showed up during Christmas time was the last time we visited.
Oh, nice.
And during this time, I wanted to picture this for you guys, okay? So this amazing storefront is very much bar-ish / sit-down-ish / you can see them make it. You can see them pouring the drinks. You guys have an amazing selection of beer. Yeah. But beyond that, I think I had a toasty kind of hot chocolate when you guys were there. And then also you guys are able to create these kind of spontaneous drinks that are kind of facing through the time of the year. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Our most popular things that we came up with, and this was not something we did when we first started, it just kind of happened, are our flights. And so we have real cute little flight boards that look like donuts, and we do flights of, our most popular thing is our flights of mimosas.
Yes.
So we have Prosecco on tap, and we do grapefruit juice, orange juice, pineapple juice, and cranberry juice. And, you just get a little 5-ounce flight of that, and we've paired each one of those juices with one of our signature donuts.
Look, I've had a flight of donuts.
Yep.
I never had the flight of the mimosas, but I saw videos of it.
Yes.
And it's playing for so many different avenues.
Oh.
Because not only for the not only for the bachelorette demographic, because they want mimosas.
Yes.
It also, I guess the best way for people that have never been to your establishment is think of a brewery.
Yeah.
Think of a regular brewery where you can have brews on tap and then you can have flights of things. You guys were able, was that the inspiration of doing that?
No, it actually started with, we have 6 or 7 beers, and they're all local beers.
Shout out to Jackalope, by the way.
Yeah, yes. We actually have, we kind of rotate some of them, but our friends at Yazoo one day came and said, hey, we want to pair some of your donuts with beer. And we were like, okay, that's cool.
Did Linus think of that? It was the owner of Yazoo. Was he the person that thought of that?
No.
Well, okay. Anyway, so Yazoo.
So they came, and so they actually have a guy who they hired a guy. His job is to pair food and beer. Great job. I don't know why we don't have that job.
Was he skinny or was he a little heftier?
He was kind of just right in between. It wasn't.
Hey, well, so he has self-control.
He was good, yeah. So anyways, we went over there to Yazoo and we tried all these beers, and they did an event there and it was great. But we tried all these different beers and we were like, oh my God, they really do go together. We typically have Yazoo Hefeweizen on tap. It's one of the ones we don't really change out. First of all, because that's one of my favorite beers. And it goes with the Boston cream donut. And if you put the Boston cream donut in your mouth and the beer at the same time, it tastes like banana pudding.
You know I'm going to play a song.
I'd sell my soul for a donut.
So, okay. And then, so
they go together.
Yeah.
And you don't think people are like, ew, that's once you have them together, you're like, oh.
I see.
This works.
Well, it's so let's talk about a little bit about the donuts, because like I said, just like every customer comes in different, they have a different type of donut to give. And all right, so just off the top of my head, because I wasn't in there for a while, but give me just the number of how many different types of donuts do you have? It's a lot.
We have 12 signature donuts.
Okay.
And so those are, but if there's something you come in and you're like, well, I would like to have, something crazy.
Yeah.
Chances are we'll make it.
Okay, so you have those 12 signatures, but then you also have, like I said, the beers on tap.
Yep.
But then you also create cocktails.
Yes.
And first of all, how hard was it getting that license?
Not very hard.
Oh yeah.
No, it wasn't very hard. We had a lawyer here in town who that's what he does. And he's fabulous. He did a great job. And I thought that I could do it by myself, but no.
You know, I had a conversation with a guest that we had on for this season, Wanna Spoon. Wanna Spoon is located in 12 South, and it's a cereal bar. And she created a cereal bar in 12 South, and that's her next venture within the cereal bar is how do I serve alcohol at the cereal bar. So I know it's a real thing, and it's a real difficult thing if you're not connected to the right people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He jumped through the hoops for us. And so there was some hoops. We did, had to go to the hearing and do some things, but it wasn't nearly as difficult as some states.
Yeah,
it can be.
Well, I think that's still amazing. And that's actually the reason why I think so many people will go there too and then talk to me about this. So when you started this establishment, when you started it, and when did you start East Nashville, the actual storefront?
So we started in 2019. So we were about, we were about 8 months in and we had a tornado.
Oh, but because this is when I moved in.
Yes, we had a really nice, fun tornado that was devastating to our community.
And the entire East Nashville area just got destroyed by a F4, F5? F5 tornado.
Yes. And some grace, we were spared. It was like... my daughter used to have Polly Pockets. I don't know, the little figurines.
Yes.
And she used to have a table for them. And it was like somebody took a big super ball and just bounced it. And it just bounced and just hit.
Hit Main Street, hit all these little spots.
And somehow it just bounced right over us. So we didn't lose power. We lost nothing. But it was hard to get to us. But we had, it took me 2 hours to get there the day after.
East Nashville really did come together, though.
Oh, it was, we just opened, and I had it. Kid worked for me. I said, let's just give everybody coffee. And we have plugs everywhere. So people just came in and plugged their computers, their phones. They had no electricity. We gave them free coffee. And we just were like, okay, what can we do now? Unfortunately, as we were trying to clean up and get it ready to go, all of a sudden that all came to a screeching halt because COVID.
Yep.
So we couldn't even help people clean up their yards because we weren't allowed to be near them. And so that was something. We closed for... about a week or so. And, we did some soul searching at home going, well, should we just close? Like, what are we going to do? And finally I was like, well, we're an essential business because we're food. And no matter what, I still have to pay rent.
Yes.
So I was like, well, even if it's just one of us. And there was times where it was just, I was just there by myself. That's why our hours are 8 to 3 because I could be there the whole time. Yeah, the time. And nobody was out. People weren't out late. They weren't out early. So my goal was every day just to, hey, let's pay rent. Let's pay rent today. And, most days we did. And the community was amazing. People would come and just be like, hey, I'm just coming to support you because we just want you to stay open.
This is the power of East Nashville.
Yeah. We just, and people would come in, and we had a drive-through, so that's all that could be open.
That helped too.
And they would come in and be like, what do you need? And, tipping and all that kind of stuff was, people were just,
so generous.
So unbelievably generous. And then, because we live in Tennessee and we opened much earlier than a lot of states, we were able to open our doors just a few months later, at half and things like that. And,
Peg Leg Porker had a lot to say about that time.
Yes. It was tough. But we also kind of had to think outside the box. We would call neighborhoods and they would order online. And then, again, my kids are now, I have 20-year-olds now, but they were at that time teenagers. And so, my daughter would put the online orders in the back of her little car and go to a neighborhood and be there at 10, and people would come to the truck and we would pass them out.
What a way to do that. That is, so the term that everyone uses now is pivot, right? And that word wasn't really around as much as it was after COVID.
Right.
But the way to think differently and the people that were able to sustain the time, and it was a solid, let's call it what it was. It was about almost 6 months, half a year almost.
It was longer.
Yeah, it was longer for sure. But it was just so much, there was so much soul searching that a lot of businesses had to do.
Yes.
But then also they said, you got to pay rent, right?
Yeah.
So what are ways that we can make it the most successful for our rent,
Yeah.
So that's amazing that you did that. And not only that, I mean, I'm sure that you taught the kids some really valuable lessons, and that you guys were able to hold on. I mean, that is a story within itself.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. And again, like I said, the community came together. We did have to do some soul searching and some, ideas. Some ideas worked great. Some ideas didn't. But, we tried them, and we could deliver because of the takeout of with the liquor. We were able to deliver beer. We were able to deliver mimosas. We go to a neighborhood, and my daughter would take a whole bunch of mimosas, and these people are anxious to see their
like
friends.
Zombies coming out.
Yeah, they would. Well, it was great. They would put their chairs at like a park, and they would that's where we would deliver to. And they would put their chairs, 6 feet apart. They would have their mimosas. Their kids would play, and they would sit there and.
Oh man, outside during this time, and it's so sad that because all you could do is you could be inside or go outside and just social distance, right? Yeah. I've never taken so many runs, so many walks, so many days in the park, right? And the most successful businesses would be in those crucial spots.
Yeah.
And they were able to use their, and a lot of people were very happy to give the money. It's like, dude, I get it. I see why you're here. And it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Well, so now, now we're a couple years now past this point, and things are coming back together. And I want to talk about one of the things that I haven't gone to yet, but I think that everyone should once I say what it is. So I'm curious to know about where the Sunday market idea came from, because that is such. So for the people that don't know, Sunday market is a outdoor vendors come to your location, and it's a small business kind of moment. And is it only once a month?
No, it's once a week.
Once a week. Okay. So talk a little bit about the Sunday market.
So, well, first of all, my oldest daughter is graduated from college. She's our marketing person. So she does our social media. She does our website. She does a lot of things. She keeps me sane sometimes.
So she got us the interview.
Yes.
Shout out to you. What was her name?
Her name is Kylie.
Kylie. Thank you, Kylie. I appreciate it.
So she does an amazing job. She does a lot for me. And, she's 24 and she's like,
she gets it.
And that's, she redid a lot of things that, old people don't understand, redo your logo. And I was like, no, I like my logo. And she was like, ugh. So
fresh take.
She redid the logo, and I was like, oh, you're right. It does look better. She redecorated some things. And so she's the inspiration behind a lot of what we do, a lot of cooler things that we do, I should say. I strictly make the donuts. She does all the cool things. And she loves, that they love the thrifting. They love
that's a hot thing right now.
And said we knew we'd have some people here, but plus also, getting some entrepreneurs, helping especially some women entrepreneurs. It's not easy. Again, we had the food truck. Trying to find a place to sell your wares is not easy. So suddenly, she kind of reached out to a couple people, and it just became a thing. And now one of the vendors is really good, and she finally turned it over to her to say, you know these people better than we do. You run it. So it kind of depends on the weather and some things. Sometimes we do it on Saturdays, sometimes we do it on Sundays, but she has different vendors there all the time. They do it in like our parking lot, but they try not to take up parking spaces, but it's great. I mean, and they bring in people. We've had some famous people drive through. Casey Musgrave come through, and
that's awesome. I love that.
All kinds of people come through and buy their things, and it's amazing. It's fun.
Well, I mean, when I think so, yes, she's absolutely on trend. There is that thrifting is a big trend right now, and not only that, in East Nashville, there's a lot of pop-up businesses that have been doing so successfully the past 2 years. And they're starting to pop up shop there. Music City Vintage, you name them, right?
Yeah.
And what is so cool is that you saw it from where we originally started our conversation.
Yeah.
You saw it from, hey, I understand how hard it is to get these spots.
Right.
And so by you just doing that alone and letting entrepreneurs do that, and you talked about female entrepreneurs. And one thing, I've never intended this for the Heart of the Gulch, but we have 10 times more female guests and female entrepreneurs than we have male entrepreneurs. And so that's a big shout out to all y'all out there, because you guys, I'm always so in awe that typically that they are the ones that take the risk 10 times over a guy. I don't know why, but I'm just noticing it, and I think it's amazing. So I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple quick questions.
Okay.
And then I have questions that fans actually sent to you. You're going to hear some voices.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Now, these questions are really easy. It's
Okay.
all for the clickbait. Okay. So what is your favorite, as the owner of the Donut Distillery, what is your favorite donut?
It's so hard because it really depends on the day. My favorite is probably strawberry lemonade, which my kids hate because it's kind of tart.
Okay.
But I
think I had that one.
I like it. I love our sweet swine.
Explain that one.
It's maple with bacon, and the bacon is a labor of love. We grind the bacon and then bake it. It's a lot of work to do, but it's ground up perfectly so that it gets in every single bite. Mm-hmm. So those are my two favorites. My husband's favorite's the Reese's. It's chocolate Reese's and peanut butter.
Can't go wrong with that.
You know, you keep playing Homer Simpson. One of my daughter's favorites is the Homer. It's strawberry with
I'm gonna
sprinkles.
say-
I'd sell my soul for a donut.
So say that one again. It's
It's
what?
a Homer donut. It's strawberry with sprinkles.
Oh, my
like
goodness.
Homer liked. So yeah.
And so-
my son made up the Death by Chocolate, so it's chocolate with Oreos and chocolate.
That's another thing is the names too. The
Yeah.
names, I remember going to your facility and I was like reading these names. I'm like, okay, that sounds crazy.
Yes.
And not only that, you guys also do a great job of explaining what is on there.
Right.
And everyone. So my question is, when you sell these donuts and when you sell them out to the masses, right? What is typically the consensus? So I remember Daddy's Dogs talked about it was the most basic Daddy's Dogs that sells the most.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most popular that sells the most 9 out of 10 times?
Our flagship donut is the whiskey glaze.
That makes
We
sense.
put whiskey. We use Tennessee whiskey. We put whiskey in the glaze, and yeah.
Well, I can see that working.
Speaking of whiskey, we are about to start in the next, hopefully a couple days. We're going to do whiskey flights. So we have 8 different whiskeys.
Mm-hmm.
We put them in 2 different flights. So you'll get a little 1 ounce pour of 4 different whiskeys, and we've paired those whiskeys with some of our donuts.
Well, you know what? That gets someone like me going. You never saw this, but inside the studio, where people think I have cabinets of plates and stuff. No. It's all whiskey.
Ah, there you go.
Now I feel bad now. I should have offered and you can have some. I definitely if you want some. Now, okay. So then from there, I'm kind of wondering what is everyone's favorite cocktail or drink that they pair with the donut. So for example, we talked about bachelorettes.
Yes.
Mimosa's got to be the number one
Mimosa's
thing.
number one by far.
And then
that's
those are
hands
already
down.
paired.
Yes.
Okay.
We pair everything for people, just because we've been doing this for a while, and we've learned like these things go together. You know, my husband's a big IPA fan, beer wise, so he, the frosted fruity, the one with fruity pebbles on it, goes well with that. So we've kind of figured out what goes with what.
When do you guys get to taste these donuts? When do you guys do the official pairing tasting? When do you guys do that?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah.
You're just kind of just there, let's try this beer with this thing.
Well, it depends. We get a new beer, and we constantly are moving new beers. So we'll get a beer, and so we'll taste the beer, and then we'll all kind of go back there and look at what do we think is going to go with this, and taste a few different ones. And the employees that are there, I have an amazing general manager, and she'll try them all, and so we'll all just kind of
That's awesome.
come up with a consensus of what we think goes with what.
We already talked about the neighborhood.
Yes.
And we'll move on to crowd noise in a minute, but we already talked about the neighborhood, but that neighborhood element to it. There's a lot of breweries by you.
Yep.
And do those breweries, because like I said, the best way to describe it to the viewers out there is that, it's very much like a brewery, because I think we played, the last time we were there, we played a Monopoly. And it made us actually buy a Monopoly set because we didn't have one for the house because we played Monopoly. It was the shorter one because you guys got the shorter one. And we ate donuts and we played Monopoly while everything was completely Christmas time.
Yes.
And it was so much fun. So do the distilleries that are around you, Tailgate, the Gnome, do they actually come by and supply certain things as well?
Oh, yeah. It's that whole beer community is also very cool, and everybody's kind of in it together. We give them donuts, like I said, Yazoo. We've done
Love
partnerships
Yazoo.
with East Nashville Beer Works, with Tailgate all the time, and they come in, they support us. We go there, we support them. There's a brewery in Nolensville, Mill Creek Brewery, and they actually sell our donuts because it's a little bit far.
That's dope. I love
So
that.
we take them little boxes of donuts and we sell their beer. So there's
All partnership.
a brewery in Franklin, Curio. We get our coffee from Curio, but they also have beer. So we have one of their beers on tap too. So, it's everybody just kind of trying to help each other out.
And you know what? That's why I have to say thank you to all you guys that come by, because it's kind of the same exact thing. I've noticed there's been more love with the community of Nashville, because it's like one person comes, right? It opens the door for someone else.
Right.
And it just makes my life and makes, what we do so amazing. So, all right. And let's get straight into crowd noise. Let me get some applause. You're recording there. You're recording there. Okay. We're all good. Everyone's recording. And crowd noise. Here we go.
This is for Donut Distillery. Shauna, what's your least favorite donut trend on TikTok right now? What's your least
I'm not real good with TikTok, just to show my age a little bit. I look on there and I get recipes and, things that I'm supposed to be exercising, which I haven't done, but it looks real good on TikTok. So, I think the thing that I don't love is, I think they look cool in theory, is the donut walls. But they're very hard. They're hard, and I have people want to do that all the time because they're mini and because we put all the cool toppings on them. If you hang them up sideways, the toppings are going to fall. Huh. And so they look just pretty enough just displayed, especially like for weddings and special events like that, which we do a lot of.
That is so crazy to me. I didn't even think about that, because that's something very particular that only if you work around it, you would realize that. And you just brought up weddings. Just real quick, what's some of your favorite events to do that donuts match perfectly with?
Weddings are number one. Yes, weddings are great. People are happy. They're easy. You can get a lot of varieties, so you don't have to just get one cake or 2 cakes. You can get as many varieties you want. It's a lot less expensive. I've noticed also that people will just eat them all during the wedding, not just at cake time.
So it's not only
depending on when you put them out.
Of course, yes.
But yeah, people will get them with their dinner and eat them, and it's not such a big deal. And the mini ones you can just pop,
and they're minis,
a couple here and there. Yeah.
So I mean, how does that feel as an owner to see so many variations that one type of food that everyone loves, which is donuts, are able to be such a pivotal thing in so many different things? It's
very crazy. It's kind of unreal. It's kind of surreal, actually.
I love that. Okay, we got one more question. Let's see what this one is.
For Donut Distillery, Shauna, when was the first time you had liquor with your donuts?
It was our first event on our truck. Our very first event was a whiskey warmer. It's in Franklin at West Haven. They do an event there.
A big event, that's right.
Yes, and that was our very first event. And we were going to do our donuts. And the lady who was running it called me and said, "Is there any way you can do something with whiskey?" And I was like, So we tried to put whiskey in the batter. Doesn't work. So we did a couple things and we put it in the glaze, and we're like, oh my God, this is good. So that's how we did. That's what when we put it in the donuts. But it wasn't until we opened our shop that we were able to serve actual liquor with the donut.
Oh together. My goodness. That was the inception of your staple?
Yes. But we already called it Donut Distillery. My husband came up with the name, and it was great, but we had no intention of, yeah, that was just the name.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that question. That was my good buddy Dante, and Dante gave a question of the inception of your bestseller.
Yeah.
Yo, I love that. Shout out to Dante for that question. I love that one. Okay, and then now we're at the point of the show where I love to talk about 2023 and ventures, right?
Yes.
Some of the things, and also there is another thing, a part of the show now. What we call is called Walk the Line. Walk the Line is when we go to your location or whatever event that you have going on, and we film you do your thing. And that's when we transition from our conversation to what you do best. Fun. And that's my favorite thing. So you talked about the whiskey flight, and I might actually indulge in that too. And same with the girlfriend. But anyways, let's talk about 2023.
Okay.
2023, I know you're trying, you guys have 3 locations at this point?
We have 2 here in Nashville.
2 here in Nashville.
We're in East Nashville, and then we're also at the Assembly Food Hall.
Yes. Oh,
and
great location.
It's a little, it's great. It's a little bit different of an experience, and it's great. Love the food hall. We don't have the beer and the mimosa. We don't have the flights there.
Yes.
Because they have a bar, and so that wouldn't be. But other than that, you can still get great donuts. You can get our spiked coffees, and we didn't talk about that. We do have flights of coffee cocktails.
Ooh.
So any of our coffee cocktails you can get there, and you can get our spiked shakes. We put
That's
liquor
my favorite. I think we had
in our
the spiked shakes last
milkshakes,
time we were
yeah.
there. I mean, so obviously you have those locations.
So those two. Then we have a franchise in Ohio, and we are about to, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, start a franchise in Houston.
Ooh, I love anytime you bring up Texas. I'm gonna
And
love it.
the people in Houston are amazing. They want to do the whole state of Texas. So they're looking at Dallas, College Station, they're Austin, multiple. So that and then we're looking at franchises there, and we have franchise people that we're talking to in different stages of the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long process. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not.
I was just about to ask how challenging that must be, because franchising anything,
Yes.
it's your baby, it's your name, it's the lifeblood. So I can only imagine having places all over. But Ohio's close.
Yeah.
Texas is close.
Yeah.
It's not Alaska, right? Where you
Right.
can't ever see it.
Right. Yeah. So it's a long process for a lot of different reasons. Finding location, getting the funding, and all that kind of stuff like that. It takes a little bit of time, but I really think that once we start getting some of them rolling, they're all going to start rolling a lot faster, because not a day goes by that somebody doesn't come in and say, why don't we have one of these where I live?
Yes.
If they're from out of town.
I can believe that.
So-
I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing from what you, and I can't wait for everyone to listen to this episode to see a thought, to see
Yeah.
the story of where it became, right? How it just came up from just going to see the balloons and see the big balloons with your dad,
Yeah.
having just a bag of donuts. And now you guys are talking about franchising, going to Texas, going to Ohio, and hopefully everywhere else.
Yes.
With this concept that started in East Nashville, which is freaking amazing. Yo. I love that. Okay, well, now we're talking about Walk the Line. Walk the Line is the way that we tee it off. Is, like I said, we do have a day in the life where I go, and now I would prefer not to do your day in the life of doing paperwork and franchising, but I would love to let everyone see
Absolutely.
these amazing flights, these amazing donuts, and just the people that come in.
Yeah.
And so we'll figure out that time off air. But the way I tee it off is you look straight into that camera right there.
Okay.
You say your name and just say, this is, say your name, say Donut Distillery, and say, this is how I walk the line.
Okay.
And then that's how we transition. All right. So I'm going to tee you off. I'm going to play applause, and then I'm going to count down to 3. You ready?
Okay.
All right. And it goes 3, 2.
I'm Shauna McCoy. This is the Donut Distillery, and that's how I walk the line.
Boom. Just like that. I love that. Nah.